It is Thursday, April 18th, 2019, and welcome to week 3 of Contemporary Issues of Criminal Justice. And I am going to spend roughly within the next hour or less going over details of the assignments that you have for this week, providing you some comments about things that you need to do for this week. And then I'm going to remind you of our schedule that we have for the quarter and when the next lecture is taking place. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. Okay, I'm going to click on down past this instructor information, and the instructor information, you should do all of that stuff. This stuff up here, additional course information. I'm going to scroll all the way down to week 3's written assignment, which is to describe the future of criminal justice as it relates to diversity. And you're going to create a deliverable for this assignment where you share points to improve ethics in criminal justice, including demographics and other statistical data that is drawn from your local area. So remember, you're going to do some research, and remember, check your grammar and make sure you have APA requirements satisfied. Primarily, citations in the body, references in the end, 12-point Roman, cover page, and make sure that you satisfy that requirement. All right, and then I'm going to go into the module in just a minute, but make sure you pay attention to the rubric so that you can maximize your 30 points. Not many of you, but a few of you lost points because you didn't do the APA properly. At this junction, you should be very familiar with what is expected for APA, and then we also have provided a lot of resources in the course and throughout the school to help you with that. So then we go down and we get to, okay, let's see. I gotta make sure somebody's mic is on, so I gotta go back and
oh my God.
Okay, somebody's mic is on and I can hear them. Okay, I'm going to, okay, now I can't hear you. All right. Mic came back on. Okay. I always keep your mics muted because I can hear anything that happens in your place, and then it throws us off here too as well. So now let's go back to where I was here. So now, reminder that the lecture will take place today. This is week number 3. And then the next one won't take place for a couple of weeks. Week 6, and then week 8 and week 10. So from this point on, you're even weeks. So there won't be one in week 4, but there will be one in week 6, 8, and 10. All right? All right, so let's go over here and let's look at what we have in terms of an announcement. As you note in the announcement, diversity in criminal justice, and you're going to prepare the assignment by looking at Module 3, which we're going to go over in just a few minutes, because as you know, there is no textbook. And then discussion assignment. Make sure you complete the discussion assignment, and you know the deadlines. Tuesday night was the initial post, and that Saturday night is the reply post. And then I do encourage you to respond to as many posts as possible by reply, though you don't get any additional grades. Make sure you have detailed information in your posts. Almost all of you have had me in other classes, and you know how I am about discussion posts. And then you know that after Saturday. We're on the next week, and that the discussion forum ends on Saturday night. However, you know the rule that if you post your discussion post by Saturday, and then you initial post, and then you submit a reply post on Sunday, I will give you credit for it, but you will lose a point. So if you submit it on Monday, after that, you're going to get no credit at all for it. So it's important to follow that. And then you know about my motto, adversity is the springboard to success. So let's take a quick look at the calendar for this course. And here it is. This is where we are. And you see your initial post was due on the 16th, which was Tuesday. And then working with diverse coworkers and clients. Many of you have done pretty good with that. I've looked at those, and I've responded to some, and I've posted some comments. And then reply posts due the 20th. And then your written assignment is due on the 21st. And then on the 21st also, you'll see that the live lecture keyword is due on that date. If you want to get all your points, you submit it by the 21st. Anytime you submit it after that, it's going to go down to 4 if you submit it on the 22nd, 3 if you submit it on the 23rd, 2 on the 24th, 1 on the 25th, and then no points after that, okay, for the keyword or phrase that we use that's given to you in each lecture. And then next week, you'll follow this schedule. And then the following week, you'll have a schedule. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, because the next lecture after today is not going to be until May 9th. So you want to make sure that you're aware of that, okay? Because this is like an independent studies class, you don't have lectures every other week as you do in other classes. All right, so let's close this down. Remember, your calendar is there for you anytime you get ready to look at it. Okay, so let's go over the assignments again. So your written assignment regarding local ethics and it tells you what the requirements are, what you have to do, and then support your answers with relevant research in a 1 to 2 page Word document. You may also include an example from the media which supports your answer. Be sure you use proper grammar and you know the APA requirements, citations in the body, and references at the end. So we're dealing this whole week with diversity in criminal justice. So both your discussion post and your written assignment have to do with diversity. And then answer these questions that are here. What can we do to improve the view from the local community toward criminal justice professionals, especially as it relates to ethics and diversity? We kind of talked about this during the open house, where I shared the importance of the transferable skill that we have of ethics and diversity, both of them. How important it is in criminal justice, because you work with people from various backgrounds, various ethnic groups, and what has happened oftentimes is that there's been a disconnect when people don't respect individuals from different ethnic groups, different beliefs than them, and we have to recognize and appreciate that we live in a diverse society, that we have people from all over the world who approach life differently. And so you, as a criminal justice professional, are going to be engaged with those individuals. And then you're going to write about what do you see is in store for the future of criminal justice as diversity in our local community increases. As it's very interesting. I remember when I was a kid, I grew up in an area in Chicago that was primarily a Jewish community, and then by the time I reached probably 11 or 12, it had changed to probably 99% African American, but there were people, once again, from various cultures. And then you're going to run across people who don't speak the same language as you do, who maybe not even worship the same way, who may not even have the same sexual preference as you, and those kind of things. So you're going to have to respect those individuals and recognize that. So you're going to do some research and look at the demographics and statistical data from your area, your location, and how it plays a role in addressing criminal justice issues relating to diversity. And that's what your written assignment is about, satisfying the rubric. Remember to run your papers through Grammarly. If you're doing a one-page, give me a good analysis. And I usually, to be honest with you, feel that this assignment can probably be done very well with a 1.5 pages. One page you could do it, but the key thing is make sure that you are giving me your analysis of and covering these two questions, these three questions that are included in the written assignment. Very, very, very important. And what you're doing here, and I already said this before and I'll keep saying it again, is that what you're doing is you're learning how to apply your career to the area where you live or plan to reside during your career. And that's what we're doing. This course is designed to prepare you for exit into your career and or continuing with your bachelor's and then going out. But many of you, and some of you, are already working in criminal justice fields. Some are corrections, some are law enforcement, and other aspects of criminal justice. And so you want to take the opportunity to be able to take a look at who's around you, what's going on, and what can you do. The idea is to put criminal justice professionals in the best possible light in the community that they operate. There should not be a disconnect between the criminal justice professionals and the individuals in the community. And because it's such a diverse group, you have to be well prepared to be professional and operate in an ethical fashion, and then do so with respect as to where individuals are. Remember, you're going to run across people you should, as I said before, you should not disrespect them. And even if they disrespect you, you still should not disrespect them because you're the professionals. And you have to kind of have a thick skin to work in some areas of criminal justice. I'd say all, but especially in law enforcement and probably in corrections as well. So those are the things that we're looking for in terms of your areas where you are, where you live. Since we are diverse in terms of our class, in that we have people from all over the country, from Wisconsin to Minnesota to Florida to other places. Each area has a little different approach as to how things operate. So that's the written assignment number 3. And then your discussion post supports that in terms of human diversity is how important it is, and working with diverse individuals, as I've stated already in the earlier part, that it is, as it says, it has its challenges and it has its rewards. And you're going to find yourself, even if you're not a criminal justice professional, but remember, especially if you're a criminal justice professional, there are people who are different from you that are going to look to you for assistance and leadership. So you want to make sure that you consider that. And consider that when you're working with people as well, co-workers. you're going to have coworkers who have different beliefs and approach life differently. That doesn't make your way right. That doesn't make their way wrong. And it doesn't. So everybody is entitled to their position or beliefs as long as it's law-abiding. And then, like I said again, the key and the most important aspect is mutual respect. That's the key. That is the key. And then, of course, your live classroom lecture that we're doing right now. So let's go now to the content. And we've already kind of tapped on this, show how diversity is important to the field of criminal justice. That's what you're going to be able to do with your research. And then you're going to analyze the relationship between ethics and diversity through the lens of the local demographic and statistical data. So you're going to have to do some research to know who's in your communities, who you're going to deal with. Are you dealing with individuals who are Hispanic, people who are from the Middle East, African Americans, and Caucasians, everybody, and be aware of this, that even if you're dealing with Hispanic people, there are Hispanics from Puerto Rico, there are Hispanics from Mexico, there are Hispanics from Latin America, and places like that. So you're going to, and each of those are different. One of the things that I learned quickly in terms of dealing with the culture of just using Mexican and Puerto Ricans is that they have different cultures. Even they do speak Spanish, but sometimes it's a different dialect. And for example, foods are different. And you know, I explain to people that all the time that you don't talk tacos with Puerto Ricans. And so the point of the matter is that there are different meals. There's a whole lot of different variations that are involved. And so, again, it's very important. We are, in the United States, a melting pot of immigrants. And the definition of an immigrant is an individual who's from another country. Well, guess what? Even if you were born here, you still have the culture from the native country that you want to try to maintain. Probably the ones who have the hardest in terms of doing that are African Americans, because of all the cultures that exist in the country, African Americans were disconnected from the culture of Africa. And just because a person is from Africa, let me tell you something, there are so many different dialects and different cultures even within the continent of Africa. So the point of the matter is, a person can be from Nigeria, a person can be from Benin, as I have a brother-in-law who's from there, and there are other parts of Africa, southern and northern, and trust me, there's a big difference. There's a difference in who, the kind of language. Some speak English, some speak French. And so, once again, it's still, when you come to this country, you're still going to have that. And so you're going to be dealing with that. I'm kind of helping you get your bearings here. So when it comes to dealing with diversity in criminal justice, and I'm going to share something with you as soon as I can pull it up. I'm not going to show it to you, but I have it here. Give me a minute. And here we go. Here we go. Okay. So what are we talking about? There are so many sources that you can determine looking at the word diversity. If you were to even go on the internet and pull it up, and do a Google search, you will find, I mean, just a myriad of information there. Now, be aware that some of the information you find is not so good, but the key thing is that you have to recognize, and again, it may sound like a broken record, that this assignment can be easy or it can be hard for this week, and that is the discussion post and the written assignment. It's easy in the sense that if you recognize what we mean by diversity, and then how and why it is important that we as criminal justice professionals look through the lenses and eyes of a neutrality when it comes to dealing with people. I'm not talking about determining whether they're criminals or not, but looking at them from the perspective of even how you talk to people, how you ask questions during investigations, how you conduct your investigations. And all of those kind of things are going to determine what it is that is so important as far as you as a criminal justice professional. Any questions at this point? If so, you can type them in the chat box. Any questions? No, no questions. I think it's pretty clear what you're going to do. One of my notes here says the criminal justice system depends on fairness to the faith of the American people. And in a diverse nation like the United States, however, cultural diversity can often work against the idea of a fair and unbiased system. And it talks about how, you know, you can look at who's in jail, who's not in jail, why they're in jail, wrongful convictions, presumptions. I heard a person once say this, and it's really terrible, and they were in law enforcement, and I just got all over their case. They said to me that African American males have a propensity to be wait a minute, I don't see what let me go back. I'm going to go back to the classroom now because I'm done with that. It says, can I open my live assignment? I opened it by mistake. I don't know what that means. Can I open up the live class assignment? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means when it says open up the live class assignment. I don't know what that means. You're gonna have to. And you open my live class assignment. I opened it by mistake. I don't know what that means. What is the live class assignment? I don't know. But anyway, the point of the matter is that you know, people operate in the basis of, for example, let's say, for example, if a person serves as a juror, people don't like it, but it's so important that people participate in juries. And there's a note here that I have that says one of the main goals of the criminal justice system in this country is to keep the nation's citizens safe, offer them their say in court, and to house convicted felons separate from ordinary people. And then, you know, there are three parts of the criminal justice system that we've covered already. And so definition of cultural diversity is something you need to take into consideration, which takes a whole lot of different forms. As I said before, people from many different cultures, values, faiths, set of beliefs, and call United States home. And it's an asset because you're able to learn from each other as well. And various perspectives allow for a number of approaches to dealing with problem solving, testing, and developing new ideas, such as in art and music and other things. So one of the reasons why the United States has and I'm looking at my notes, has a well-developed policy of freedom of speech, the First Amendment, is to promote communication among a variety of people with different experiences. When we share experiences with each other, our differences, we find out really how much we have in common. I once made the statement, and I said this before, that I like all people except those that I cut and their blood is not red. So I know somebody said to me, and a nurse, and one of the nurses says, well, the blood is really blue. I said, yeah, I know what you mean, but when it hits the oxygen, which is when we see it turns red. And so that's how we see it. That's why we use the term red-blooded. People use the term red-blooded Americans. It's actually red-blooded people of the world. And then people have to be careful about stereotyping people and presuming, But back to that point I was making a few minutes ago, is that when that guy he was carrying a gun, a police officer, and working in an African American community in Chicago, made that statement that black males have a propensity to commit crimes. And so I said, well, he said, there are exceptions of people like me. I took offense to that because that was patronizing to me. And it's people who have that kind of attitude that create a problem. I was at a law enforcement seminar, and it was a segment that was sponsored by the NAACP, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and it was conducted to deal with diversity and various issues relating to law enforcement. And there was a white police officer who basically said that he was taught to be afraid of black people. Now that's a bad thing. And if there's things like that, and there's a person who's a police officer out there, then that means that they have stereotyped people and that they want to put people in one group. All people are different, and dealing with things like racial profiling and things like that, that's counterproductive to operating judicial bias when the jurors are stacked and that the judges or juries that's supposed to be impartial, and their biases overwhelm them in terms of their decision. And so these are different things that you have to take into consideration when looking at the system. If you look at the statute of justice, and see what justice looks like, justice is a blind female who is led by people, and the decisions that people make is how justice sees. And justice sees through the eyes of those people. So it is something that we all find ourselves being the eyes and ears of justice, especially when you carry a badge or when you take a position to work, whether it's in law enforcement or whether it's in corrections or what have you. So we face a lot of things that we must begin to work on as people in our lives. Okay. So I guess that's it that I have for today in terms of dealing with the topic today. I've kind of just given some things for you to think about, but then you conduct your research and you're going to come up with some information and data. So I'm going to terminate this session unless there's some comments or something that someone wants to share. If so, type it in the chat box. It's 9 o'clock now. Anything? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. All right. All right. Anybody have an idea of what the key word is going to be? Or the key phrase? See how good you all are.
No.
Somebody got it. You said no, and then you typed it in. It's diversity. That's it. That's all I've been talking about for the last half an hour. So I'm going to say good night to each of you, and hope that you will, get those assignments completed, and reach out to me if you need me. You know how to do that. Not just from this class, you know how to do it because you've been with me, and some of you have been in criminal law, some of you have been in drugs and crime, some of you have been in introduction to corrections, or all of the above, or either maybe some other classes. So you know how I roll, and I'm here to help you. So I'm going to say good night. Enjoy your weekends coming up. This is Easter weekend, or as I refer to it, as Resurrection, and tomorrow is Good Friday. And so have a great, actually a great couple of weeks, and I'll see you in week number 6 with our next lecture. So good night, guys.